In this lesson, we are going to build on our previous one, and we are going to create another small interactive level where we add blueprints, and we're going to expose several new concepts. We're going to use volumes, and we're going to also do a little blueprinting, and we're going to also talk about dealing with problems. All right, so let's test this out, and then we'll jump into an earlier version. We can build it up from the beginning. So I hit play. And this one, we're starting looking in a different direction. The sky looks different. It's moving, the clouds are moving fast. There's an object in front of us. We've got what looks like a chasm here, but we can't jump into the chasm, so that's something new. We've got the sphere here. Let's see what happens when we roll over it. There's 100 in the upper left-hand corner that showed up, and the drawbridge came across. Okay, great. So now we go into this room, and you can see we've added some lights. It looks very nice. Let's run up the stairs and click that second sphere, and view 1. So let's build this out, and we can talk about all the things we've changed and added. So here we are in our original level, and I've added some additional floor plates, and now I'm going to select them and add a material to all of them, just like I did in the last chapter. Shift select all of those, and then if we want to add a material to all of them, we can just drag and drop that in. So that's good. Let's talk about the player start. Now, up till now, we've moved it around, but we haven't really talked about the initial direction the character's facing. So this blue arrow on the player start is the direction the player will face when they start the level. So we want the player to be looking at the sky. I'm moving it 90 degrees, and now when we select the sky sphere in the other one had a much more dramatic sky. The cloud speed was set much higher. Let's set that to like 16 and select the cloud opacity to 1.4. All right, much more dramatic. Excellent. In the next chapter, we're going to go over how to even set up our sky so that as the light source rotates, the sky changes. The stars will come out and the sun will move across the sky. So that's exciting. Now we can move on to setting up our drawbridge and making that interactive. So we've got this drawbridge. We need to make sure that it's movable. And now we want to figure out how far do we want it to move. Well, right now it's at minus 900. We want it to start minus 500 and go to minus 900. So it's going 400 units. So we can do this in a couple different ways, and we'll use the blueprints. So the key thing, again, setting it to movable, and now we are going to set up an event, and we'll set this up in the level blueprint. In the second course, we're going to have a lot of object-oriented blueprints, and that's just going to make our lives a lot easier. So this will be a great thing. We can come back to this in contrast. But for now, this is a good starting point. So we've got the drawbridge selected. We're going to right-click, create a reference to it. So that's a variable. And then we're going to be wanting to change the location of it. Set relative location. We don't need it to rotate in this case. All right, excellent. And we're going to be doing that over time. And so we used a timeline in the previous video, so hopefully this will be a good reinforcement. You can call it drawbridge. Call it drawbridge location or something. And then we're going to double click in. And in this case, since we're only modifying one value, we can create a float track. We can call this drawbridge location. What we could do is we could get the drawbridge location and add 400 units to it, or we could put in the exact values. Since I will contrast this in the chapter on blueprints, for this chapter, we'll do it probably the least efficient way by typing in the specific values. I'm just shift clicking on this timeline to add keyframes, and then I'm going to type in, so at time 0, we had a value of minus 900, and then it went to, at time 2, we had a value of minus 500. Let's just confirm that. Actually, it's the other way around. Zoom these out, zoom the extents. So it was minus 500 and minus 900. Easily fixable. Zoom out. We will add auto on here to add a nice little curve, which will smooth the in and out. And then we can do an autoplay just to test this if we want, and see if this is working. So before we test it though, we need to hook this up. And since this is one value, we want to hook this in here. So how do we add that? So we can split the pin, which is nice, because it's a vector. And so now we've got 3 values, and we're modifying the x value. If we played it the way it is right now, it would pop up because the values here on the location for z is at minus 340. So we could either type in minus 340 and type in y since it's a constant, or we could just get, why don't we get the location values? And then we'll split this pin, and then if we decide to move it, we will just be able to move it anywhere, and we'll just need to modify these values. So that's something. Let's test this. We have it to autoplay, and it worked. Okay, great. All right, so next, let's set up our blocking volumes, and if we have time, we'll set up our first interactive object here. Under the modes, we've got volumes, and let's type in blocking. It's right at the top if you need to just find it that way. And this will prevent anyone from falling into the chasm until we want them to. All right, so I'm just holding down the Alt key to duplicate it. Let's rotate that. Looks like I've almost got it. There we go. And we will move this over, scale. I'm gonna hold Alt to duplicate again, and then Shift to drag it all the way back. Nice. Okay, so we've added the blocking volumes, but now we want to have it so that after we pick up this object that we're going to put in here, that points are generated and the object goes away and the blocking volume turns off and the drawbridge comes out. So it's quite a few steps, but I think let's scale this object to 0.5, and we will do that in the next video.